Who is Abraham Lincoln? Abraham Lincoln did important work for the United States, which made him one of the most famous United States presidents. Growing up, Abraham Lincoln lived in a log cabin. Born on February 12, 1809, Lincoln spent his childhood on the family farm, and although he was a hard worker, he preferred reading and writing to hard labor. He received little formal education, only that which came from traveling teachers, but undeterred, he educated himself. The Lincoln family later moved to Illinois, where he worked a number of jobs, including splitting wood, surveying, and even delivering cargo to Louisiana by boat, where he was first exposed to the practice of enslavement firsthand. Lincoln was particularly interested in politics. In the 1830s, Lincoln became a congressman, but only for a year. Initially, he was largely disliked due to his outspoken views against the Mexican-American War and the practice of enslaving others in the United States. He left Congress to work as a lawyer and began to make a name for himself due to his debating skills and ability as a public speaker. When did Abraham Lincoln become president? In 1861, Lincoln became the 16th President of the United States. During this time, tensions were already high between the North and the South, with Lincoln's views on enslavement only inflaming the Southern states further. As he was declared the 16th President, the South was already planning on seceding from the Union. Just 1 month after Lincoln became president, the Civil War began. For 4 years, the northern and southern states fought each other, but President Lincoln worked hard to bring the country back together. Lincoln was now tasked with rebuilding the United States and ordered 3 amendments to the Constitution, called the Reconstruction Amendments, which were aimed at preserving and protecting the new freedoms and civil rights that the newly freed enslaved people had just received. Lincoln was the first president to be assassinated in office. On April 14, 1865, just 5 days after the last battle of the American Civil War, President Lincoln attended a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. John Wilkes Booth was a renowned stage actor at the time, but he was also a Confederate spy working in Washington. After seeing one of Lincoln's speeches on April 11th, which alluded to giving voting rights to African American veterans, Booth brainstormed an assassination plot. Booth waited until one of the biggest laughs in the play, then he took the opportunity to sneak into Lincoln's booth. Why is Abraham Lincoln famous? Abraham Lincoln is frequently regarded as one of the greatest United States presidents in history. It's no surprise that he is one of the 4 presidents carved into the face of Mount Rushmore, or that he has his own memorial in Washington, D.C., the Lincoln Memorial. One of the most important things that Lincoln did during his time as president was pass the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863. This paved the way for the complete abolition of enslavement. For this, he earned the nickname the Great Emancipator. He even called the Emancipation Proclamation his greatest achievement as president. The Gettysburg Address is also one of the most famous speeches of all time, in which Lincoln promoted the idea of the North fighting for liberty and freedom for all as well as preserving the Union.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
Facts about Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln remains the tallest president to have ever served, standing at 6 feet and 4 inches tall. When Lincoln's photograph was first shared with the general public after winning the election, they were reportedly taken aback by his rough features. Lincoln then grew his iconic beard to soften his image. At one point, he also owned a store and earned a reputation as an honest businessman, which led to people in the community calling him Honest Abe. As we mentioned earlier, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, abolishing slavery. More than 200,000 Black Americans were still enslaved in Texas, completely unaware of the news. On June 19, 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was passed, General Gordon Granger and his soldiers entered Galveston, forcing Texas to free their enslaved people. This was the moment when they were finally informed of their freedom. The following year, on the anniversary, those freed celebrated the first Juneteenth in Texas. President Joe Biden signed a bill on June 17, 2021, to recognize June 19th as a federal holiday. That's all for now. For more information and resources related to Abraham Lincoln, head to twinkl.com.